Hello, everyone. Welcome to CONVEX 2024 by VWO. This is the day 3 and the final day of the event, and I am feeling mixed emotions right now. My name is Vipul Bansal, and I am the Senior Marketing Manager at VWO. Thousands of brands across the globe use VWO to optimize their customer experience by gathering insights, running experiments, and personalizing their purchase journey. I am honored today to have Chris Gibbins, with me here to run the third and the final workshop at CONVEX 2024. So, Chris, can we have you on stage, please?
Hey.
Hey, hi, Chris.
Really excited to be here. Thanks, Vipul. Thanks for the introduction.
Absolutely. And I've been an audience to the past 2 workshops, and they were amazing by Craig Sullivan, and yesterday it was by Erin Weigel. And the level of interactions, the level of engagement from the audience levels was, something that I've never seen before. So I'm expecting the same level of engagement and the same level of energy to happen. Something that we can witness today as well.
Yeah, no, fantastic. Yeah, I've got a lot of things to go through all around personalization today. So the topic is insights-led personalization.
Yeah.
So yes, let's kick off. Actually, are we waiting for anyone else, do you think, Vipul?
No, we're just waiting for a few more people to join in. And yep, I see the numbers are now rising because the calendar invites just went out. A few minutes back, and people are now joining in. I already see a lot of people have sent where they are joining in from, but yeah, it'll be good to see where everyone else is joining in from. We have people from Scotland, Denmark, France. We also have people from planet Earth. Douglas is from Earth. And
no, it'll be great to do a word cloud. So if everybody does put where they're from, I reckon we can do a really nice word cloud from all of this.
Yeah, it's unfortunately that's not a feature here, but
it's a feature for afterwards, isn't it?
Yeah, afterwards definitely. There are many names that many repeat names rather. I'm seeing in this third workshop. A lot of people like Marcella Sullivan, Betty Kim, Julie Fregoso, Sharon, Gabriella, Jesse. A lot of names I am able to recall from our past workshops.
Oh, that's great. That's a good sign, isn't it? Good retention there.
Yes, absolutely. And this is quite a testimony that yes, the workshops are delivering value, and people are finding value in these workshops, and they prefer coming back and participate in the new in each workshop. Sorry guys, I'm fumbling a bit. It's been a tiring day today. But yeah, we'll start just in a few seconds from now.
Fantastic. So welcome everybody. Really happy to be here. I think this session should last an hour, I reckon. I'm going to try to keep it to an hour, but that all depends how many questions you guys ask. I'm going to start off by telling you a little bit about us, but probably just for a few minutes. So I'm Chris. I'm a Chief Experience Officer at Creative CX, and we're an experimentation consultancy. But of course, as part of experimentation, we do a lot of personalization as well. We help businesses to establish, improve, and scale their experimentation programs. So a real specialist consultancy based in London. And this picture you can see on the screen here is some of the team. We're about 30 to 40 people now. And you can also see just a few of the people we work with in terms of clients, some big names there, a mix of retailers, finance people, and travel companies. So a nice mix of different companies we work with. But most importantly, I would love to find out a bit about you. So actually, what I would love you to do is to, for a start, it's been great to see where you're all from, which is amazing. But I'm going to start the poll, and I want to find out first how many of you are currently A/B testing. Okay, fabulous. So Any more votes? And then how many of you are personalizing at the moment? Because I think it'd be quite interesting to see the comparison. But we'll move on. Right, so we've got 3 parts to today. The first part are introductions. This part is an introduction to the insight-led personalization theory and examples. So what I wanted to do first of all is to talk about the whole reason. Why on earth do we want to personalize in the first place? And I always find this a very interesting kind of way to talk about it. And actually, personalization is so often used purely for marketing and for ads, very much pushing those messages out. But actually, I believe that it can make a massive difference to the customer experience. And ultimately, it's about increasing overall customer centricity and improving business performance. So while we have the one-size-fits-all approach at the top, we have to make a lot of compromises. We have to effectively, what we're doing with everything we do, we are actually, we're sometimes making experience better for some groups of people, but at the same time making experience worse for others. So we end up having to make a lot of compromises. Whereas the amazing thing with personalization is that we can actually start to create tailored experiences for different important groups of users. And overall, that means that we can get the overall customer centricity up. So we can have fewer compromises. We have the ability to meet the needs of a higher percentage of users. More effective and bolder marketing messages, actually, because if you know who you're marketing to, it means you can be bolder to that audience. Whereas if you're marketing to everybody all in the same time, you have to basically compromise and make it bland and less strong. We can focus on all channels. We can connect up the online and in-store and make it work better, and ultimately drive that competitor advantage. So some very high level reasons why we personalize, but actually it's quite important to have these things in your mind. And then if we move to a couple of things which are really important for personalization reminders, I call it. So delivering personalization doesn't mean that you can skip experimentation. It's amazing how many people I speak to who, when it comes to personalization, they forget about A/B testing everything they personalize. They assume that if they're targeting personalized messages to groups, that it's always a good thing, and that it's better than not personalizing at all, or better than not just talking to people in the same way. It's so important that we need to A/B test. And you should apply best practices such as you should conduct your research, just like you would in A/B testing. Do your research and analysis first to identify opportunities for personalization. And what we're looking for is contrasting needs and behaviors between key audience groups. And I'll come back to that actually. So it's the difference in user needs and motivations and intent between different groups. The second point is note that personalization only works when it's solving a genuine problem. So again, a bit like when we try to do with our experimentation programs, of course we need to focus on problems, because if there's a problem and your solution actually fits that problem, you're more likely to solve it. The same is true with personalization as well, except that the problem is a really big difference in user needs. And when you're planning your personalization campaigns, make sure you got a problem statement and a hypothesis. It might sound obvious, but it's amazing how much personalization is done, and there's no hypothesis at all. And the last thing is always test your personalized experiences against a control. So some quite clear things, but I think they are very important reminders. And going back to the other point here, that this is, before we move forward, the bigger the differences in user needs, motivation, intent, the bigger the opportunity for personalization. So this is a really important one. And actually, if there's no difference, there's no point in personalizing. It's a waste of time, actually. So this is a really important thing to get in your mind. So when you start looking for opportunities, to improve the experience through personalization, look for those differences, look for those contrasting needs and behaviors between one group, say new visitors or say existing customers, for example, and look for where they have completely different needs. And that's where you need to zone in. So is that making sense for you? Or obviously in the chat, because I think personalization has been misunderstood and has different meanings sometimes. I think it's a lot of people, it's very tool driven, it tends to be, and very kind of quick win, very tactical, where in our experience, the best impact has come from being insight led and actually thinking about your customers, so being customer centric. Okay, great. And I thought it would be worth talking about some themes. I always find this quite helpful. So what we've done, and think of it as examples. And all of this is going to be inspiration and fuel for you for the next interactive session. Exactly. Like Emmy says, problem and solution. Exactly. So some really good messages here. Okay, so the first one, this is a really good theme to think about, and it's very fitting for mobile especially, but we call it session continuation. In other words, it's picking up where you left off. So don't make users start from scratch again. So think about it, and when you look at a lot of data like we do, actually people buy or people book in the second or third or fourth or fifth visit, not in the first visit. Because they're on their mobile, they're walking down the street, they're at the bus stop, they're not, and they're going to be distracted. They got other things in their life, so it's so important to bear that in mind. And then this is where personalization can come in, because you can make it easy for them the next visit and the next visit to continue their journey rather than starting all over again. And this is absolutely key. So on the right, we can see with this fashion brand. The next time they came to the site, they would see they're still interested, and it would show some of the products they were interacting with. And we've also experimented with a lot of ideas around helping people to continue where they left off with their search. What were they doing last time? And actually, you can see on this occasion with this brand, for users where they had something in their basket already, this overlay would appear to remind them that there's something in the basket and they can continue their journey of buying that item. Another really good one is the, you may have seen it on travel sites before. So when we're talking about session continuation, sometimes on travel sites, for the second time or third time you go back, you can easily kind of redo the whole journey again. You can again, it's smart and it remembers you, which is great. So here's an example here where you can actually on this website, when you come back again, there's a continue your search up here, so I can straight away look and start off looking at Los Angeles, which is the search, so I don't have to start brand new again. And below they've got still interested in these properties. So again, what they're doing a really great job of personalizing is to put the properties there, which I was looking at before. And if you think about it, actually that's cut out like 5 of my steps, or 5 of my actions as a user. The next theme is around implied, implied preferences. So this is all about implied personalization is different to explicit personalization. Implied means that through your actions as a user, you've told the system, you've told the brand that you like to sort your listings page from low to high because you're very price sensitive. And actually, if you're smart with personalization, you can learn that. And then you can take that information and tailor the rest of the experience, because you know this group of users is now price sensitive. And then there's other things like color preference. Let's show them this color product by default from now on once they've selected the color. So it's the changing the default and the implied preferences. Or if people click on assembly and packaging, you'll know that they are more interested in the details. So therefore, you can default that next time they come to another product. Again, this is cutting down steps, and this is improving the overall journey. And then we've got explicit preferences, which are especially important for logged in. And you can see here, this is the BBC trying to encourage me to log in by signing in. But the interesting thing with explicit is that you can ask your customers sometimes. Sometimes you can ask them if they're a business user, for example. And this is a great way of finding out exactly what they want. You can ask them what type of things they need and they want. And then you can be very transparent with personalization as well. It doesn't have to be implied. Then when we go to prioritization of content, this is all about the order of things. So as we can see, as people who use heat mapping, as if you use the VWO heat mapping tools, for example, or other tools, where things are positioned make a massive difference to how much interaction they get. Makes a massive difference. So therefore, when you know through implied preferences what type of things they like the pricing, for example, you can change the order of pages after that. You can put more price sensitive content higher up. So you can improve the effectiveness of landing pages by changing the order. And the same is true from simplicity and decluttering. I bet a common problem with everybody is the fact that they got too much content to put on their website. And as a strategy with personalization, it can allow you to even remove some websites, remove some of the clutter, if you know that is not relevant to that particular user because of the information you know about that user. And that's a very well-known thing, targeted sales and promotions and content. So this is probably the more well-known one, where you can tailor the message to the audience when you know who you're talking to. And therefore you can, rather than, again, put 1,000 messages to everybody, just tailor it. And you can, like I said before, be stronger in your messaging. And the most famous one of all is recommendations. And I know people almost, a lot of people who do personalization only do product recommendations because they have a recommendations tool. And you just let it go sometimes, don't you? But actually it can be really important. It's something you should A/B test, and you should always optimize the algorithms, the placement. For example, a really good one that can work is for those coming from Google Shopping. So you know people who, if you have a really high bounce rate on your product details pages, it's often because of people coming in and landing on that page. But then they're in a completely different mode and mindset to those who are, say, coming from a PLP or coming through the normal traditional journey. These people from Google actually are not that bought into your brand yet, and they're just comparing products. They're using Google as their landing page. So they hop on your site and they go back and check another site, and every single time it costs you money. And that's where things like recommendations can come in, as long as they're higher up the page and very visible to people. And then this is a really interesting one around journey intervention and assistance, because actually it's really interesting around what we can do with the technology these days. And I think this is where things are going to move, where we can start to, rather than pick up on insights and then at a later time optimize the website for their specific needs. What we've been experimenting in this screen grab up here is actually we connected the analytics tool that picks up on struggle. We connected to their live chat, so that when people are actually struggling on the page through their actions, it opens up a live chat and provides contextual help around the area of the page they were struggling with. So the intervention is a really powerful arm of personalization, which has a big future, really, because why not solve the problem there and then? And then finally, the omnichannel side of things, which is which is extremely important, especially when stores are so important for people at the moment. So it's so important to think about the whole end-to-end journey and not think of things as a single channel at a time. And some of the biggest opportunities are all about connecting up these two areas. So, for example, we've been doing some interesting work around QR code journeys in store and making sure that people can sign up really well and join up the whole process. We've also been doing our user research across usability testing online, but also then following up in store as well and doing real world sessions in store. And there's fantastic opportunities for not only connecting up the experience, but also for just improving what people are doing on the website. Because not everybody goes to your website with the intent on buying there and then in a single session. Actually, a lot of people will be there to do researching or there to research and plan their trip into store. And again, through personalization, you can pick up on certain implied behaviors, and then you can tailor that experience afterwards. So that's a lot of the theory for now. And I wanted to go through that and try to hold all those information. And actually, it's all on the Miro board, so you can go back whenever you want to. But this is about inspiring you for the next stage and for the insights-led personalization process and exercise. But before I carry on, let's have a little bit of a breather. Has anybody got any questions? I've seen a few on there. I think there's a question around, is AI being used for personalization yet? I know VWO has AI for testing and suggestions. So absolutely, AI, well, more machine learning is used for recommendation engines a lot, Joel. And it's also starting to use in testing tools for coming up with content recommendations. I know we use AI a lot for, we use it a lot for our research and survey and analysis. Sometimes it could be really useful when you've got like 30 or 40,000 responses in a survey, as long as you know how to use all the prompting. I think one of the challenges with personalization is about how detailed you get, how small the segments are, how small the audiences are that you personalize for, and I hope that AI will make it possible to actually address more groups' user needs. Whereas if you're doing it in a traditional way, you have to focus on the biggest groups. But in the future, I believe you can be more granular. And I think someone was talking about that too, which is great. So Joel was saying, thinking more granular per customer versus a broader AI recommendation. Absolutely. I mean, I think it's just that granularity, being able to get closer to their needs. Because of course, just imagine if you've got 1,000 groups, you can't possibly manually create different messages for everybody, but that's where you can use tools like AI in the future to actually be a bit more intelligent with how you deliver.
Yeah. Sorry, I just came to inform that we had published the poll on Zadal itself, and if you want me to show it on the screen, I can actually open it up on the screen for you to see.
Fantastic. So let's do this poll now and see how it goes during the breather.
So 81% now have now voted in the favor of yes, they are currently experimenting and A/B testing. 7% plan to do it this year, plan to start it this year rather, and 6% plan to start it next year. 8% are not currently experimenting and A/B testing. So I think it will be interesting to know, Chris, because it's just 3 months, before the end of this year. What any sneak peek that people might want to give into their plans for starting A/B testing? Why do they feel the need of starting it in the first place?
Yes. Yeah.
Anybody
Absolutely.
would like to speak up or share their observation in the chat? And meanwhile, I see an interesting question that I'll put up on the stage for you to answer, Craig.
Does in-app personalization make sense, or is it enough to have feature flags on or off in most cases? We've had so much success experimenting and personalizing on app because more users are logged in. You've got more data to use. You know more about the customer especially when they're logged in on an app. And the other advantage of an app is that if it depends on how often, how frequently they go back to it. But it's a huge opportunity actually for personalizing on apps as well as experimentation. It's a really good question. Or was it enough to have feature flags on or off in most cases? I mean, when it comes to experimentation, the whole process of server-side testing for apps is a little bit different to web because you need to think about when the app's released. But there are some really good methods around. We do a lot of training to train teams on how to test and personalize on apps because you have to use variables a little bit more. There's some clever ways, and you have to think about how an experiment is put together a bit differently. Okay, the second poll. This is going to be an interesting comparison, isn't it? If we got 81% A/B testing to see how many people are personalizing yet. And quite a few are planning next year, but we got 32% yes at the moment.
But I think 27% is also a very significant number. Personalization takes a lot of time to actually execute. And almost 27% of the people, I assume that people are not selecting random options, but this is the true data that we are looking at. So 25 to 27% of the respondents are actually planning to start it this year itself. I think this is, I can safely assume this could be because of the approaching festive season that businesses are feeling the need to personalize their the customer experience, right?
Yeah, but here's a question for everybody. For those who are not personalizing yet, why is that? What challenges are you having getting started? Is it, for example, that you're just not ready, or are there technical difficulties, or are there like cultural difficulties in getting going with personalizing, or actually you just don't know where to start, or something else? So it'd be great to find out what people think.
But there are people who are sending in their inputs using the chat option itself. They don't know where to start.
Don't know where to start. Yeah, technical competence, technical hurdles on the client side. Okay, on the client side, that must be someone working in an agency, I think. There's a lot of technical reasons,
problems,
aren't there?
Jackie has also pointed out at the regulatory difficulties, which is also an important one.
Yeah, technical and regulatory difficulties. Yeah, that's an interesting one, isn't it? I suppose if I'm just thinking some of our insurance clients and things, you need to be a bit more careful. I mean, you need to record everything that is live on the website, because when somebody calls up, for example, on the call center, they need to know what they were looking at, what price they were seeing, what all the details were. And it's, of course, it's very highly regulated, as it should be. So there are definitely difficulties. You couldn't just go rogue and do all kinds of personalized messages on a site like that.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I do not see anyone who has raised their hand to join on stage. I think everyone's a bit camera shy today. But yeah, I'll let you know.
Let's continue then, and I will talk to you about the exercise. So I'm going to start with the steps that we go through with our clients. And today I'm going to use a not client of ours, but just use a hotel site, because they're similar to many other hotel sites. And we do have, we work with travel and hotel and airlines, etc. But I think, so this is a really good one, because I think you can get your head around it quite well. And step one is always, it's about identifying the key audiences. And remember, it's which are most likely to have contrasting needs and behaviors. And this is actually, we normally do it through a lot of stakeholder interviews, talking to people in the business, as well as a lot of analysis and looking at existing research of a client has. But a lot of people will know this already. So for example, and this is like key audiences of interest. So in this hotel site, I put 3 pairs of interesting audiences, and I'll talk about them a bit later. So there's guests without children and families with children. Actually, these have very different behaviors. So they're of interest to the company, and they're of interest because they have very contrasting needs and behaviors. The other one are existing members. Membership and reward points are massive in the hotel industry. Really, really important for people. And there's a very big difference when it comes to behavior and the user needs and the motivations for someone who is an existing member who's collecting points and everyone else who are non-members. And we actually see in the data, we see in the user research we carry out some quite big differences in behavior there. And then the third one for the example today, we're all going to get our heads around, is all to do with this kind of session continuation, really. So it's new visitors in their first session. And then it's return visitors who have already been searching but not yet booked. And these two groups of audiences also have very different user needs in our experience working with other clients. So that's the first step, is to, and of course, if you're doing this for real, you need to identify, there'll be quite a few audience groups. The important thing is they need to be meaningful sizes of audiences. And the clue here is that which are most likely to have contrasting needs. So this is based on existing data. But as you do more research and analysis, you'll discover new interesting groups. Potentially, for example, in a financial sector, we see very different behavior from people who have come from comparison websites to those that have gone direct to the brand. Again, they're landing on different parts of a journey, but also their behavior is completely different. They're much more, the ones going direct are loyal to the brands. They're already bought in. The ones coming from comparison websites are a lot more fickle. So they're more likely to bounce. They're more likely to go back and check another brand. So therefore, they need a different experience, ideally. So, okay, so that's the first step. The second step is to conduct opportunity discovery research analysis to identify exactly the contrasting needs and behaviors at these different steps of the journey. So this is where we do our user research. This is where we do our data analysis. This is where tools such as VWO Insights and other heat mapping tools, for example, come in extremely useful, because you want to look at the differences in behaviors and really drill into what's important to these different groups. And then what I'm going to do now is to zoom in, and we'll get another chance to do this. I'm going to zoom in on a few on the guests without children. And these are the type of things that we find out. And again, this is contrasting behaviors with families with children versus without children. So with the families, we find all kinds of things. And there's a lot of this from survey data as well, from customer survey data. So we find out that families struggle to find the ideal room for them and their children. That seems to be a real need of them, to find out what room is going to suit them if they've got children. And then there's what was coming up quite a lot was the thing around connected rooms in hotels. And that seemed to be quite a pain point and a difficulty for them. The other aspect is a large number were interested in hotels with good facilities for their children. So obviously to keep the children occupied during the stay. The buffet breakfast options were coming out really highly important with this group, but not with the other group. So this was because kids are often fussy eaters, I think, with this brand. And behavioral analytics was supporting a lot of these findings. We're just looking at the amount of interaction with filters. You can gather a lot of information from what people are interacting with in filters or in different parts of the page, which feed into the... And when there's a big difference between them and guests without children, there's your opportunity for personalization. So guests without children, in usability testing, many were put off if they saw too many pictures of children, which is quite a problem, isn't it? Because you want beautiful pictures on your hotel website, and you want people, maybe you want pictures of like, fussy kids are an understatement, absolutely, Alice. If, for example, you want to attract one type of user to your website, what pictures do you put up? You put a picture of a family enjoying themselves and the kids playing, which can be fantastic for some people, but of course they're going to have the opposite effect for other people, like the business user, for example, who just wants peace and quiet. So if we move to the guests without children, Then they want peace and quiet. A large number of these users were business travelers who need a desk to work from. So they'll be looking at the room information to find out if there's a desk in there, if there's a place to work. And things like reliable Wi-Fi will be really important for these type of users. And other facilities like business suites were coming up a lot in the research. So it's these, you can start to see, hopefully, that how the behaviors, how their user needs are very different. And that is where personalization comes in. It's your ability to improve the user experience for both of those pretty big segments, actually. Okay, so that's, and we've done the same for existing members. So this is, I always love this. With hotels and with airlines, wow, the points are so valuable. So people are very, very driven by reward schemes and the points in the hotels and airlines, and they would do a lot to get more points. But that is those existing members who collect the points and who are already in the group. So we see really contrasting behaviors between existing members and non-members. So for example, so the problem statement here is existing members of reward scheme are extremely driven by points and the benefits that this gives them. However, many non-members don't see any reason to become a member or are worried about the hassle as well. The business has highlighted a huge opportunity to help encourage regular bookers who are not yet members. So there's some really big difference. Like when surveyed, members said that the biggest benefit was the reward nights, which they can spend on their family. The comment was twice as common amongst business travelers, interestingly. Retention rate is 3 times as high for members compared to non-members, which is kind of obvious, but it's good to have in the data. And 30% of members spend more through upgrades in order to get more points, which the analytics shows. So actually what I mean here is that they will spend more money to get more points. It's such a driver, actually. And we've seen that in the data. Whilst non-members don't see the point in becoming a member often, so they haven't been persuaded yet. They don't see the benefit. And there are several commenting that it's too much hassle to sign up, and they're worried about being pestered by emails and messages if they do sign up. And then 20% of all traffic is from people who regularly book hotels, but who are still not signed up to be a member. So you can start to see the opportunity here. Okay, so I'm building up these like problem statements here, because you need a problem statement for personalization, and that's why we do it this way. Okay, to the third and last one, before we start brainstorming, before we start thinking about what the hypothesis should be. New visitors in their first session versus return visitors who have already been searched but not yet booked. Okay, so the research and data analysis has shown a clear need for shortening the process, especially on return visits and especially on mobile. So returning, most users do not complete a booking in their first visit, especially on mobile. In the survey responses, a large number of comments from people frustrated that they would lose all of their previous search criteria. So people kind of quite annoyed that when they've, the steps you have to go through sometimes is put in your dates, put in the hotel, the destination, and you're looking on the map and doing your research. And then perhaps you're showing it with your family members. And of course, then you need to start again the next day, for example. That's a really frustrating experience and time consuming. The user interviews indicated that many decisions were made with the partner, which meant that searching again for the hotels when they got home later on in the day. And in usability testing, there were several comments about the process feeling quite long, actually, which is a common thing. And only 3% of users scrolled down to the homepage to see other content. This is interesting. So returning, hardly anybody was scrolling down. But for new visitors, it was more people were actually scrolling down and looking for offers on the page. So some very different behaviors there. So these are our use cases for today. So we got our problem statements, and again, the problem statement is all about the differences in these user needs. And then, if that's all, if anyone has any questions, what we're going to do is I'm going to talk about the actual journey and the task. And if you like, this is why not go to Marriott and have a little play around and then kind of familiarize yourself with that journey and have in mind these kind of different scenarios. What I've done on the Miro board here is I've put screen grabs of each step on mobile, so you can see the homepage with the where to be searching and the content below. You can see the next step of searching, the destination, the dates, etc., and putting in your details. And then you've got your results page, which is where you list all the different hotels are there. There's also a map view. I didn't put a screenshot, but you can flip to the map view and flip back. Then what you do, if you want to, you don't have to, but the user, if they click view hotel details, they're taken to this overlay and it has more details about the individual hotel. And then, so this is the scrolling down version. And then if you continue, you're taken to the whole select a room page. And you've got different tabs with different options, and you've got tons of different types of rooms. Just thinking back to the families with kids here, you know, the importance of the room information. Oh yes, the Miro is shared, actually. Maybe we share the link again. People, if you want to put the link in, there you go. Because that's going to be really important, because we're going to do loads of post-it notes on here. So, okay, so select a room. Then you get this membership overlay, which appears if you're not a member, and then join now. And then you've got, and also if you are a member but not signed in, you can sign in now. And then the last thing is the guest info and the payment. So this is the journey at the moment. But I would advise, if you can, if you've got your mobile and you've got internet, that you go to the Marriott and have a little play around, actually, to get familiarize yourself with the journey. And it's a very kind of common kind of journey in the hotel industry, and it's quite complicated too. There's a lot of things to think about for the user, and a lot of, there's a lot of possible improvements for different types of users, and that's the key thing. That's why it's such a big opportunity for personalization. Okay, take a breath. Right. So what I would like you to do, right, I've got these underneath the journey. You'll see there are 3 frames, 3 areas, and it corresponds to the journey and the journey above. And on each of these, I have repeated again the audience groups, and I repeated the problem statement I've gone through. And then what I want everybody to do, and I can keep on filling up the post-it notes, is to write your hypotheses, your ideas, at the appropriate place in this journey on this board. So, for example, write it here and say and write what you think you'd want to do. And then I want you to continue, and I can make the board bigger if we want to, but I'm going to let you do this for the next 20 minutes or so. I think 20 minutes should be fine, I think, actually. So maybe if we have the counter for 20 minutes. And then what we're going to do, we will revisit and walk through all of this process and then ask a few questions. And then hope, but please shout if you have any questions on the chat as we go through, if you're not sure what to do. And then enjoy and have fun. But keep on thinking about the problem, which is the contrasting needs and behavior between these groups of users, okay? Excellent. And please also start to fill out the hypothesis on the second one. So feel free, and even if you're struggling now, running out of ideas on the first one, start adding some ideas on the second one, which is around existing members who collect points versus non-members. Okay, you're doing a great job. And then, for some of you, do you want to start also working on the third one as well? I can see Julia was working on that. Nice work. So this is all around the new visitors in their first session versus those returning who have already been searching but not yet booked. Okay, I think I think people are getting there with all these with all their ideas. I can't see too many new ones, so I think it might be time to kind of go and visit some of the ideas that they put on there.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, there we go. Really good work, everybody. Some fantastic ideas. I was having a sneak peek as well. So amazing job. I hope you enjoyed the exercise too, because I think it works for us and works for our clients working in this way actually. So it's a good exercise, keeps us all grounded in real data and real solving real customer problems, and away from very much like solution first approaches. And it's a great way to create more user-centered experiences for your customers through personalization. But I thought what we would do is just pick up on a few of these ideas as we go through. So you guys are really busy. So this one, if visitors without children are seeing images without children, they're more likely to book and convert. And I think with this one, for example, this one around the imagery, you can sometimes just prioritize and move them around on the carousel, for example. So you can change the default first order. You don't always have to remove imagery completely, but hey, you can test that too. So I think that's a great one. I think there's one here by pre-selecting amenities filters based on the number and type of travelers. We can reduce the time to book by displaying only those results with tailored amenities, images of families and personalized sort. This is really important actually, because I think if you look at the filters on mobile, you only get to see 2 or 3 in view. So if you can start to display filters and even pre-select them, I think this is a great idea based on what you know about them. After all, they've put in that they have children in the search, so you know that about them. So therefore, you can start to prioritize. That's a really good idea there. So a lot around the filtering, which was great, by featuring USBs such as gym facilities and fast, reliable Wi-Fi in the search results for users who have selected that they are booking for only 1 or 2 guests. We will observe an increase in click-through rates, PRP. Yeah, absolutely. That's a great one. It's really solid information. What people actually, some clients have put in extra questions in their search box purely because it allows them the ability to tailor the experience a bit better later. So you may have noticed that some clients, some websites actually ask whether people are business or leisure, for example, and that's so that they can improve their data. So we got some fantastic ideas there. We will review everything afterwards, and let's look at the existing members and non-members. This is always a fascinating one. So yeah, some ones around offering a tangible welcome bonus for signing up. That would be applied to the first trip. So that trying to get people to log in, if we offer some perk related to logging in, e.g. free cancellation, we will boost sign-up rate. Absolutely. There's some extra data we'd need to figure out and drill into in terms of the value between one-off traveler versus frequent traveler. Cool. Single-click sign-up for the regular booked non-members. Absolutely, because the non-members at the moment, but regularly booked is a real key kind of focus. So incentivize regular non-members with a value complimentary gift when they sign up. That's the business objective here, absolutely. But again, I hope you can start to see that if you approach these strategies for everybody, then it would really upset some people. It just wouldn't be effective, and that's the whole point of personalization. But if you sometimes teams make the mistake of they get an idea and for personalization, and he only targeted at one user type, or actually that improvement could benefit everybody. So not everything needs to be targeted. Okay, let me go down. Okay, so there's tons of ideas. Let me go to the last one, which is new visitors and returning visitors who have already been searching. So let's have a look at that. If we notice visitors returning very close to their entry date, we could display the same filters chosen plus a better price to help them navigate faster and also create urgency. 2-in-1 hypothesis. Nice work. By using cookies, show their last step, last destination plus date, selection on the homepage to speed up booking journey. Absolutely, yeah, I love that idea. And you can take that even further. That whole kind of just shortcut, just put up those 3 or 4 shortcut links to their last searches, and that will save them tons of time. They don't have to put in all the dates again, which is a pain, isn't it? Really good ways of improving the user experience through personalization. Like add latest search feature for returning, and the guests recommend and return to us because, yeah, amazing ideas. Oh, if we allow returning visitors to quickly save their search criteria, i.e. entering just their email address or simple checkbox to save a session cookie, we will increase second visit bookings. Yeah, so this is interesting. This is almost like explicit when you're asking them to save. You don't have to do this, but this is another option. Many sites you can just save by default and assume it's going to be good for them. But okay, I think we will start to wrap up now, but I think some amazing ideas. And of course, this mirror boards I'm going to leave open for you guys as well. I just wanted to touch on the last couple of steps. If we were doing this for real, the next step would be to prioritize our hypotheses based on the size of the problem they're attempting to solve. This is also based on the size of the segment as well. So it's really, as with all experimentation, we really believe in problem-first prioritization, which means that you should focus on the problem you're trying to solve and how big that is, not subjective prioritization of how good you think the idea is. But that's probably for another day. So this next step is prioritization, and then it goes into the feasibility checks, design and build the personalization experiments. Key thing is here, they need to be experiments. You need a control. You need to A/B test them. Don't make the mistake of just assuming that they're going to work because it's personalized. And then eventually you need a really good balance. You need a team, or this needs to be in your normal experimentation or product roadmap. You should always have a level of personalization because the rewards are absolutely there. So I would like to kind of finish up with the last few questions, really, just to see. I'd love to find out more around your challenges in getting going with personalization. So if anybody hasn't added anything yet into the chat, it would be great to figure out if there's anything stopping you. And hopefully today's session, focus on insight-led personalization, has been helpful and is something that you can take away with you. And of course, do get in touch. I'm always on LinkedIn, so send me a message if you want to chat further, and we could talk about this some more. We can go into a bit more detail around the practicalities. But
yes, absolutely. Feel free to connect with Chris. He is very active on LinkedIn, and send him your questions, and he'll be able to answer. One question just rolled in, Chris.
yeah,
It's from Mary. Let me just wait. Did I? Yep.
examples of personalization for e-commerce. Absolutely. There's so much you can do for e-commerce. The session continuation one is something I really recommend exploring, because you can, for e-commerce, you can, on their return journey, you can surface what they were searching last time. You can surface if there's something in their basket. So there's many, and also for brand new users, you can surface the more brand information, introductory information and offers. So there's some really key starting points for e-commerce. But yeah, happy to follow up on that one as well. But yeah, e-commerce really lends itself well to personalization.
Yeah, just a quick reminder, guys. You can also come up on stage and ask your question with more context, and have your follow-up questions answered as well. Carol has an interesting question. Karen, would you like to come up on stage and chat? You can send in your request using the Join tab. But yeah, here's the question from Carol. She's asking, they're asking rather, if there's time for one more question, could you comment on using personalization tools versus building it in house?
Yeah, exactly. So this is a big one actually for personalization, because tools give you the flexibility to test out personalization in the easiest way. They give you the agility, they give you the ability and to test things out properly. But eventually, it is, in the ideal world, you want to build it in permanently into your platform. So when you've discovered a winning solution, you have two choices. You either keep it going in the experimentation, in the testing personalization platform ongoing, or you build it into the e-commerce platform, and that's the better long-term solution. So I'm a believer in using experimentation tools like VWO for exploring the opportunity, exploring the personalization campaigns, and when you find a winner, if possible, building it into your platform.
Right. But I'll be interested. I mean, we all will be interested in knowing your thoughts as well, Carol. I saw that your request just came in. I have approved your request. And hey, hi, Carol. How are you?
Hey, Carol, how you doing?
Hey, hi, everyone. Thanks for answering, Chris. Yeah, I mean, so I've been working on personalization for a bit more than a year now. And as I was like getting up to speed with everything, I saw a lot of research comes from the tools that is focused on personalization. But in-house, we're mostly doing like recommendations, and we're building like kind of our setup to deliver recommendations through API and stuff like that. And then we have like a testing platform where we do some we use more for experimentation. But I was curious, the personalization engines and tools available online are available in general. Especially for bigger companies, I think that the implementation of such a tool can be a bit problematic and costly, and a lot of companies decide to, because they have also resources to do it in-house. So I was curious if it's worth for bigger companies to explore also the personalization tools, or if it's enough like having A/B testing tool and on top of that the in-house solutions.
I think for the long term, in-house for permanently serving is the best approach. But for a lot of people, it's quite tough to build their own A/B testing tool. So and have it in. But it's only some of the biggest companies go that way. But I think a good approach is to do your exploration through an experimentation tool, find the personalized experiences which are working well, and then hopefully look to build that into your platform as a normal experience for people. So say, for example, the ideas around letting people jump to their last search really easily. Maybe you put a little shortcut underneath the search box that says, the last one, Los Angeles, these dates, and it's a quick way through. You would eventually, it'd be better to build that into the actual CMS if you can, target it at those users. So build the code in and do it that way. Otherwise, you're reliant on the testing tool always to kind of continually serve that winning experience. So eventually, I think that combination works really well in my experience.
Okay, thanks a lot, Chris.
Thank you so much,
Cheers,
Carol, for your. Hey,
hello,
hi,
Jen.
Jen. How are you?
Are you on mute, I think?
We cannot hear you, Jen. Your mic is switched on, by the way, but no worries. I'll just pin your message to the stage.
Sorry,
so,
Jen.
Chris, this is the question that Jen has asked. Would you prioritize a lower or higher percentage segment? I would think ROI would drive that decision, but curious what your thoughts are.
It's a really good question. I think the important thing here is I would prioritize a fairly big segment, but you need to take into account what the differences in the needs are as well. So it's the size of the opportunity is almost equal to the size of the segments, but also the difference in their user needs. So if there's a real big contrast, like if somebody wants something completely different than someone else, and they're also big segments, that would be top priority list. And there's also feasibility as well. If the segments become so small, it's hard to have such an impact. So I hope that helps answer the question. Sorry, couldn't hear you.
Yeah, unfortunately, we couldn't hear you, Jen.
But thanks for your question.
I will now see you off the stage, and let me see if there are any new requests. There are no other questions. Let's see the other question. There is some long post by Emmy. Let me just put that up on stage as well.
Prioritize hypotheses based on the problem they are attempting to solve. I prefer to include also confidence, how much we have data from. Not totally, how much we have data about problem and solution, solving a problem, and ease, how difficult. Just trying to solve something huge, which might take too much capacity or technical issues. Okay, no, good question. When we talk about problem-first prioritization, there are two aspects to it. There's prioritizing the size of the problem, and actually confidence does come into that. It's not about how much data, it's how much you understand the problem you're solving. So if you have some really good quant and qual, that means you can improve that confidence for the problem. But then what we prefer to do on the solution side, we prefer to think about the problem-solution fit. And we do it in that way because we don't want to give up on problems. And also, some solutions might be simple, like less effort. Other solutions might be bigger. So it's a very much doing both things is really important. This is an almost topic in itself. This is I've been speaking quite a lot about problem-first prioritization recently, which is a really good, such an important topic.
There's another interesting question by Alan. Alan, would you like to come up on stage?
Oh, I can read the question otherwise.
Speak right now, but yeah, he's not able to speak, but I'll just put up his question on the stage. So Alan is asking, how are you dealing with the current problem of privacy and third-party data to make a good targeting strategy for personalization? Is there any tool for this?
Yes, so we have integrated CDPs sometimes with the personalization and testing tools to help with targeting. But this is a feasibility question. This is like when it comes to the step 5 feasibility checks. Like the most important one is, can we actually identify these people, which is the feasibility that happens early on, because obviously that's absolutely key. Some of the segments we've talked about today are easy to identify because it's through the actions actually on the website. Like, for example, are we adding children or not? So it makes the segmentation quite easy. But of course, we still have to store it in the cookie, and cookies don't last forever on different devices, etc. But I think when it comes to privacy, it depends what data you're storing as well. If it's really personal data or not, where actually the behavioral data is anonymous. And I think that's the key thing with the data you're storing. Obviously you need to be careful if you've got all customer data. That's the thing you have to be worried about, and just make sure you use the appropriate tools. But that's what CDPs are for. Okay, got it. So from web design planning standpoint, when a group is working to plan and
you can try, John.
Oh yeah, is John there?
So he's quite skeptical about his audio working on.
That's okay. Oh, we got his question here anyway, haven't we?
Yeah, we've got your question anyway.
That's right, James. And the needs and wants of marketers that are looking to try business.
To plan and develop a new website, when should they start thinking about personalization? It seems to me there is a valley between UX UI teams and the needs and wants of marketers, okay, that are looking to drive business objectives. That's an interesting question.
There is what we want to do with all apps and websites, we want to do what's good for the customers, but in line with business needs, don't we? We want to do what's good for both people. Actually, helping a customer through the booking process is good for the customer, and it's also good for the business, of course. And so that's, in some ways, that's a bit of like, I know marketers are looking to push things. That's the problem. The key thing is we need to think about the end-to-end experience. And sometimes when you push too much content in front of people, it ruins the experience. So it's just about these product teams and UX teams working alongside marketing. I think when should we start thinking about personalization? I think you need to think about getting the UX right first if it's a brand new journey. You need to do a lot of usability testing, making sure it's accessible, usable, and then works really well. But then personalization is directly related to what you know about your customers and to the different people you need to serve. And it's the next level up. I look at it like a level on top of the core experience to really make that extra impact. But yeah, I think it's with marketing teams who are challenged with driving the revenue all the time, I can completely see the problem. It's just they need to be aligned with. You can't really, and you shouldn't really make users do something or manipulate them. You shouldn't work like that. You need to entice them rather than the other way. But it's a great question.
Right. At the end, of course, it comes down to building a consensus between different teams and different team members, right? Different teams, different departments in the organization have different KRAs, they have different KPIs, right? They're different kind of an ROI that they're looking at, right? Marketing team is looking at a different ROI. UI UX team is looking at a different ROI, right? The investment is different. The returns are different proportionately. So I think the entire conflict sort of even if that exists, it sort of is resolved when all the team members come together and they figure out what are the specific areas of their responsibility, and who should contribute at what stages. So I think that should help you out, right? But I think that's the end of all the questions. I do not see any more people who have raised their hands. So I think we'll end the workshop here. Chris, are there any other stuff that you?
No, I think just keep in touch. I'm really interested to see how you get on if you apply this to your own websites and apps, actually. So do keep in touch. And if you have any problems, you know where we are. So we're happy to help. But thank you so much, everybody, for all the brain work that went into the ideation session and your attention.
Really loved the engagement though on the chat and also on the Miro board. People have really put in their thoughts and put in their efforts to work on all these exercises. So thank you so much, guys. It wouldn't have been possible without you, and of course it wouldn't have been possible without Chris as well, because he's the one who has built this entire workshop. So thank you so much, Chris, for putting in your effort to build this workshop and tuning in at this hour. I know you have a really busy schedule, but you still made out the time to run this workshop. And also, guys, do not miss the 2 other presentations / discussions that Chris has done with Vicky from EasyJet and Annette from Primark. So the recordings of those conversations, those presentations are now live on the CONVEX 2024 landing page. I'll just request my colleague to drop in the link to the landing page where you can scroll to the agenda section and you can watch just all the recordings from day 1, 2, and day 3 as well. And of course, there is a quiz coming up. And by the way, Chris, thank you so much for your time. I will now see you off the stage. And feel free to hang around to look at the quiz as well. Else, if you have another meeting set up, of course, feel free to jump off as well.
We'll do. And don't forget to do the survey as well. There's a survey in the last tab as well, so don't forget to do that.
Yes, forgot to mention. There's a survey in the last tab. We are looking forward to your feedback. Your feedback is what helps us keep improving, and we will be sharing your feedback with Chris as well. So just mentioning your feedback that this is particularly for me, VWO, or for Chris. We will share the feedback accordingly, and it will help us to build better webinar experiences in the future. So please do take out the time to fill up the survey as well. But yeah, thank you so much, Chris, for your time. And
no worries. Bye, everyone.
Looking forward to having you in the next webinar, maybe sometime sooner. Awesome.